They do not have the same sense of personal space that we have. We had North Americans, maybe because we grew up in a big country with lots of room, have a bubble around ourselves, around our houses, around our cars, around everything that we own that's our space. And we get uncomfortable when people move into that space. And our space is 1.5 to 2 feet, generally someplace out in here on a personal basis. Ticos do not have that sense of personal space. I'm sure you've seen it exhibited on the sidewalks and buses and the stores and whatever. And sometimes what will happen is that you will be meeting someone for the first time and they will stand right here and talk to you. Oh, it's in my personal space and I don't like that. And we'll take a step backwards.
And they come forward.
And the Tico will take a step forward. Their sense of personal space is not what ours is. Don't let that bother you. They don't mean anything by it, anything negative by it. It is their culture. They are close together. How they say yes and how they say no, well, remember what I said a while ago, sometimes to avoid conflict, they will tell you yes or they will tell you no, and the opposite of what you want to hear, or the opposite of what the opposite of what they mean truly in their heart, because they're avoiding conflict. And that, the answer they give you is the answer that they think you want to hear. Ticos have humor. They have a great sense of humor.
They do.
It's not our sense of humor. They do things a lot differently than we do. We're just hung up on personal correctness, right? Ticos give each other nicknames, and they're not always flattering nicknames. They call each other fatty and chicken and skinny and fail, ugly, and they don't take offense by it. Well, why should they? It's not meant offensively. It's meant endearingly. These are nicknames. Most of them get them when they're a little kid. We, on the other hand, if we get a nickname, it's probably something like my wife gave me, which is Gringo Stupido Viejo, which is stupid old American. But she means it lovingly.
You're sure of that?
Really, she does. Greetings among men. The first time you meet for the day, a handshake is appropriate. Personal contact, something that North Americans have come to dislike somehow. It's actually healthy. Personal interhuman contact is good for us. With women, men and women, it's a airbus on the cheek, touch of the cheek. With women, to women, it's the same thing. They don't hug exactly the same way we do, but hugs can be generated in many, many different ways. A handshake is a hug. A touch is a hug. Get used to it. Personal contact is accepted. It's going to happen to you all the time, every day, and it's a wonderful thing. Oddly, Ticos do not have a great ability to translate bad Spanish. Costa Rican Spanish is different than Mexican Spanish, than Castilian Spanish, than any other Spanish. And you would think that living in this country where there is a melting pot of different Spanish languages, particularly on the television, that they would, like us, learn how to translate dialects. I mean, we grew up with what, Yankee dialects and Southern dialects and Western dialects and immigrant dialects from various different countries, and we process it and know what they're saying, usually. Slight mispronunciation of Tico Spanish often cannot be understood. They just have not developed that process of being able to translate a badly phrased or spoken Spanish word to a correctly phrased or spoken Spanish word. Strange thing. One of the things that I've not been able to figure out, because you would think my wife watches a lot of television. It comes from Mexico, it comes from Venezuela, it comes from all over. They use different Spanish. Why can't she understand me? Oh, wait a minute, I think I know that.
Selective.
Greetings here are different, just a little bit different. Instead of saying buenas noches, good night, they'll say buenas, or good morning, buenas. Or sometimes they'll even say just pura vida. But they don't pronounce the whole phrase sometimes. I guess they figure that you know what time of day it is. Ticos do not trust easily. This can be a real difficulty. You can offer your very best, most sincere communication about something, and you can see it. I don't know. I think I better ask somebody else. My wife does this to me all the time. One of my sources of culture shock is that she will ask me a question, and I, in my vast experience, know the answer to it, and will tell her the answer, and she'll go ask her father. Okay. What's the next slide? Doesn't look like my favorite. Oh. This is just something from an old presentation. Ticos like recreation. Their national sport is football. Every town has a soccer field. The beach and water sports are very, very popular. San Jose is amazing at Easter time, Semana Santa, or Christmas time, or other major holidays. The sea becomes a ghost town. People all go to the beach. Don't go to the beach. You will be very frustrated. The last time I went on a holiday, and the only time I went on a holiday, it took over an hour to find a place to park. It was over a mile from where the beach was that we wanted to go to. When we got to the beach, we had a space about this big.
Wow.
It's because they're all there. Bull riding, I've seen it recently on television. Normally takes place about Christmas time. Very popular about Christmas time. And it is not the same thing that we're familiar with, and when we talk about rodeos and bullfighting and stuff like that. In Costa Rica, it's the people that get injured, not the bull.
Wow.
They'll put 20, 30, 40 young men, some of them in Spider-Man costumes or whatever, out in a ring with a bull, and the bull tries to get them.
Tries to get them.
The objective for the young men
To run.
is to touch the bull. And they will chase that bull around and run away from the bull and touch that bull. And quite often people get gored. The bull walks away happy.
I got one.
And they're trying to outlaw it, but it's such a deep traditional sport in this country that it will never die. However, some people have culture shock. So how do we deal with culture shock? The very first thing, the very most important thing, is don't base your perceptions of this culture on what you observe, but on their behavior. Because when you do that, you contrast it to your own, and therefore it becomes a conflict, and you get into culture shock, and you're all excited. Learn to, here's one thing that'll cause you culture shock. the metric system. We have some cards available with simple conversion tables on them, so you can convert miles to gallons, kilometers to liters, to miles to gallons, meters to feet. Anyway. It's not up here, but the first thing that you have to do is develop patience. Remember, this is not a time-oriented country. Try taking whatever experience it is and turn it into a learning experience. Now I know, maybe not know why, but now I know. Try and focus on the positives, what you've learned from this, how good it can be that the guy actually felt comfortable driving the wrong way up a one-way street to get to a gas station because it was more efficient than going around the block. Not bad, different. Had a sense of humor. Mostly at yourself. Laugh at yourself. Oh, I did that. That was stupid. And don't complain, because when you complain, you become a victim. And when you become a victim, you become unhappy and you suffer from culture shock. You know, the embassy says that, and there's no way to track this, there's no way to know this for certain, for sure. But they believe that 50% of the people that come here, move here, leave within 3 years. Now sometimes that's because of family things back home or health issues or various different things, but a lot of the time it's because people just can't adapt. They can't take these things and apply them to their life. This is particularly true for type A personalities. If there's any type A personalities in this room, go get on the plane this afternoon and get out of here. You are not going
You're not going to make it. Your sign. Your sign. Your sign.
Oh, it likes to wave.
Okay.
I am retired military.
Cool.
I grew up with a mother who was late for everything, including her own funeral.
Mom.
I have this thing about being on time. It's deeply, deeply, deeply ingrained in me. Regardless of what Earl says, I try very hard to be on time. This has caused as much culture shock for me as anything that you can imagine. And I am probably type A about being on time. I have learned that being on time is not a Costa Rican characteristic, including in my house. I now know that when my wife says, "Via," or "let's go," I've got a solid 10 more minutes to complete.
Solid.
Sometimes as much as 20. And at least 3 or 4 more. Because time to go. Yeah. So what can you do? Bring a book. Particularly if you're going to go into a government agency or a bank or someplace that is semi-official, bring a book. I keep one in the car all the time. When I take my wife and my kids someplace and they go in, I got the book. If I have to go stand in the bank line, you can pick out gringos in the bank line because they're standing in line reading a book.